Done. 0. Same list as this morning. Same items. Same boxes. Same open state. It is 9:47 p.m. You kept it in your head all day. That is the pattern. The first item was there at 8:12 a.m. It is still there now. The second was opened. Read. Moved around. Still not closed. The third was touched twice. No checkmark. No next step. No time written beside it. The list did not disappear. The workday did. You open it again on your phone, not to finish anything, just to look. You read the same lines. You feel the same pressure behind each one. Then you close the app. Nothing changes. Done. 0. Then tomorrow's calendar opens. A call moves into tomorrow. A file moves into tomorrow. A follow-up gets dragged forward. The old list stays open underneath it. This feels responsible. It feels like staying on top of things. It feels better than letting something slip, but the list has not changed. The brain is not broken. It is doing what it does with open goals. An open item stays active because it has not received a state change. The input is simple. The task is still open. So the brain keeps returning to it. That return feels like discipline. It is not closure. You can think about it all evening. You can replay it in the shower. You can check it during dinner. You can keep it in the back of your mind while answering a message. None of that gives the task a done signal. None of that gives it a credible next step. The item stays flagged. So the brain keeps pulling it back up. The brain does not always need the task finished. It needs the task registered. In research on unfinished goals, a specific plan reduced the mental activation from those goals. Not more worry, not better remembering. A plan. A concrete next move. On record. That matters because your evening problem is not always unfinished work. Sometimes it is unregistered work. The task has no state. Not done. Not next. Just open. So the brain treats it like an active demand. Now look at the cost. Work stopped at 6. The list did not close at 6. At 7:15, the same items came back. At 8:30, they came back again. At 9:47, they were still there. The evening was not rest. It was off-hours task replay. The body left work. The list did not. Studies on unfinished work show the same pattern. Unfinished tasks are linked with more work thoughts after hours and poorer recovery. That is not just a feeling. That is the state of the evening. Time passed. Nothing closed. Recovery did not happen cleanly. You did not produce output. You did not fully detach. You ran the same open list without changing it. That is the loss. Hours spent carrying items that did not move. Done. 0. The list opens again. 7:04 p.m. Same items. No marks. You tell yourself you are just checking. That sounds reasonable. A responsible person checks. A responsible person does not forget. A responsible person keeps track. So you read the first item. You decide not to touch it now. You read the second. You think through what needs to happen. You read the third. You remember why it is annoying. Then, the app closes. No state change. 8:31 p.m. The list opens again. Same items. The first item feels heavier. The second has started to blur. The third has become background noise. You are not doing the work, but you are not free from it either. You are paying attention without changing the record. That is a bad trade. 9:06 p.m. Tomorrow's plan opens. Now the open items get dragged forward. Not finished. Not decided. Not closed. Just moved. This feels like control. It is carryover. The list did not close. The brain did not either. A diary study on work tasks found that lower task accomplishment during the day predicted more evening rumination and worse psychological detachment. That is the visible pattern here. Less closed during the day. More mental replay at night. Less real detachment after work. The task list shows it. The evening shows it. The next morning will show it too. And this does not stay inside work. A personal errand does the same thing. The form you did not submit. The call you did not place. The thing you need to return. No done mark. No next step line. So it comes back during dinner. It comes back while you are talking. It comes back when you are trying to sleep. Same mechanism, different list. A creative project does it too. A document sits open. No stopping note. No next action. No line that says where to restart. At night, it comes back as thinking about the idea. Sometimes that is real. Often it is just another open flag. The file has no state. So the brain keeps reopening it. This is the open list tax. Every unmarked item charges attention after the work should be over. The tax is paid in recovery time. It is paid in next day capacity. It is paid in the quiet parts of the day that never fully come back. The reason it survives is that every return feels useful. You remember the task. Small relief. You check the list. Small relief. You move it to tomorrow. Small relief. The relief teaches the loop to continue. Going back to the open item feels like doing something, so the brain keeps going back, but the list still says the same thing. No done mark. No next step. No time. No closed state. The next morning begins with yesterday still loaded. Now the list has old items plus new items. Yesterday's open work did not vanish overnight. It came forward. Before the day begins, your working memory is already carrying unresolved items. That is the second cost. You did not only lose the evening, you made tomorrow start heavier. A task left open at night becomes background load in the morning. Then the morning feels harder. Then fewer items close. Then more items carry into the next evening. Then the list becomes familiar. The open state starts to feel normal. At first, the excuse was simple. I need to keep this in mind so nothing slips. That is believable. It may even be true sometimes. But after years, it becomes something harder. This is how I work. Now the behavior is not just a habit. It is part of the identity. You are the person who remembers. The person who stays aware. The person who never fully lets go. That has probably made you reliable. That is why this is hard to see. The same behavior that protects your competence is also eating your recovery. Keeping the item alive in your head feels safer than trusting a written state. Writing a next step feels too small. Marking it as parked feels careless. Letting it go feels like losing control. So you keep the control in your head, and the list stays open. That is the failure point. Keeping it in mind does not register a state change. Rereading the list does not register a state change. Moving the item to tomorrow does not register a state change. Starting tomorrow's plan before today is closed does not register a state change. The brain is waiting for a different signal. Not motivation, not a cleaner system, not a longer review. A state word, done, or next. One of those has to land on the item. Otherwise, the item stays open. The move is mechanical. At the end of the day, open today's list. One pass. No rewriting the system. No reorganizing. No planning session. Each item gets one of two states. Done. Or next. One action, with a time. Done. Or next. Send file at 9:30 a.m. Next. Call supplier at 11. Next. Draft first paragraph at 8:45. Next. Check invoice after lunch. No item stays open. That is the line. Not because every task is finished. Because every task has a registered state. The brain gets either completion or a credible plan. The open flag has somewhere to go. Before the pass, the list says, open, open, open. Done. 0. After the pass, the list says, done. Next. 9:30. Next. 11. Done. Next. 8:45. The object changed. That is what matters. Not how you feel about it. Not whether the day was perfect. Not whether everything is finished. The task list no longer holds unmarked items asking to be carried in your head. The state changed. The loop has less to grab. Tonight, look at the list. Not the size of it. Not how responsible you feel about remembering it. Just the visible state. How many items have a done mark or a written next step? And how many are just still open?